There is a wound that never heals, not because it's deep, but because you keep reopening it. Every comment, every glance, every silence, you take it in. You make it yours, and somewhere in the dark, you start to believe that the world is aimed at you, that every word spoken in a room is somehow about you, that every gesture, every tone, every turn of the head is a judgment carved in stone. Carl Jung called this the prison of the personal, and he knew something most people never learn, that when you take everything personally, you are not protecting yourself, you are disappearing, you are collapsing inward, mistaking the storm outside for the truth inside. And the cost of this is a life lived in defense, a life where love feels like danger, where peace is always one sentence away from shattering. But Jung also knew this. The moment you stop taking things personally is the moment you become free, not because you stop caring, but because you finally see what was always hidden, that most of what happens to you has nothing to do with you at all. This video will show you why you take things personally. Not just the surface reasons, not the easy answers, but the deep psychological architecture beneath it, the invisible beliefs, the ancient fears, the mechanisms Jung spent his entire life uncovering. You'll learn what's really happening when someone's words pierce through you like a blade, why you replay conversations for days, why criticism feels like death, and most importantly, how to step outside of it, how to witness the world without being destroyed by it, how to love without being consumed, how to exist in your own center, unshaken. This is not about becoming cold, it's about becoming whole. Carl Jung once treated a woman who could not leave her house, not because she was afraid of the streets, but because she believed every passerby was judging her, every face that turned, every whisper she couldn't hear. She carried an invisible courtroom everywhere she went, and in it, she was always on trial. Jung asked her a question that changed everything. "Do you believe you are that important?" She stared at him. "Important enough," he said, "that strangers organize their inner lives around you? That they wake up thinking of your flaws? That they lose sleep over your existence?" She couldn't answer, because the truth was brutal. She wasn't that important. And neither are you, neither am I, and that's not an insult. It's liberation. Jung understood that taking things personally is not humility. It's a secret form of grandiosity. A belief that you are the center of every story, the target of every intention, the meaning behind every silence. And when you live in that belief, you lose yourself because you become a mirror reflecting everything, absorbing everything, carrying everything, until there's nothing left of you but echoes. Let's start with what actually happens. Someone says something. A sentence, a tone, a look, and in that instant something inside you clenches, your chest tightens, your mind begins its work. What did they mean by that? Why did they say it that way? What are they really thinking about me? You are no longer in the present moment. You are in interpretation, and interpretation, Jung said, fares where we lose the truth, because what you hear is not what was said. What you hear is filtered through every wound you've ever carried, every childhood message, every rejection, every moment you felt unseen. The words land on old bruises, and suddenly a casual comment becomes a confirmation, a reminder that you are not enough, that you never were. This is the shadow at work. Jung's shadow is not evil. It's the part of you that you rejected long ago, the part you were told was too much or not enough or wrong. And when someone's words touch that shadow, even accidentally, you don't just hear criticism. You hear the voice of everyone who ever made you feel small. Here's what makes it worse. Your ego needs the story. It needs to be the victim, the misunderstood one, the rejected, because if you're the target, then at least you matter, at least you exist. Jung called this ego identification, when your sense of self is fragile. Every external event becomes a referendum on your worth. You don't just take things personally. You need to take them personally, because without the drama, without the wound, without the story of being wronged, who are you? The ego whispers, if they don't think about you, do you exist? If you're not hurt, are you even real? And so you cling to the pain. You rehearse the conversation. You imagine what you should have said. You build entire narratives around a sentence that the other person has already forgotten. They've moved on, but you haven't, because you've made their words your identity. Now we go deeper. Jung discovered something most people never see, that when you take something personally, you're often responding to your own projection. Projection is when you see in others what you cannot accept in yourself. Someone calls you selfish, and it destroys you, not because it's true, but because part of you believes it is. Part of you has always feared that underneath everything, you are selfish, unworthy, broken. And when someone speaks that fear aloud, even innocently, you don't hear their opinion. You hear your own inner judge, the one you've been running from your entire life. Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The things you take personally are maps to the parts of you that are still unhealed, still rejected, still in the dark, and until you turn toward those parts, you will always be at the mercy of the outside world. And here's where it gets painful. The more you take things personally, the lonelier you become, because you can't truly connect with anyone. Every conversation becomes a minefield, every relationship a risk. You start editing yourself, watching your words, reading faces for signs of disapproval. You become a hostage to perception, and love, real love, becomes impossible. Because love requires presence, and you are never present. You are always 2 steps ahead, anticipating the wound, defending against the hurt that hasn't even happened yet. Jung saw this in his patients. The ones who took everything personally were also the ones who could not let anyone in, because to let someone in is to risk being seen. And if you believe that being seen means being judged, then intimacy becomes unbearable. So you retreat, you build walls, you convince yourself it's safer alone. But the truth is, you're not safer, you're just smaller. This didn't start yesterday. It started long ago, in a moment when you needed to be seen, and you weren't. In a moment when you needed to be held, and you were blamed instead. Maybe it was a parent who made everything about them, who turned your pain into their inconvenience, who taught you that your feelings were burdens. Maybe it was a teacher, a sibling, a friend who made you feel that your existence was a problem to be solved. And so you learned. You learned that the world is hostile, that people are dangerous, that you must be vigilant, always watching, always guarding, always translating every word into evidence of your inadequacy. Jung called this the wounded child, the part of you that never grew up, the part that still believes it's small, still believes it's powerless, still believes that survival depends on reading every signal, every shift, every micro-expression, and that child is still running your life, still taking everything personally, still trying to protect you from a danger that no longer exists. But here is where the story changes. Jung did not believe in endless suffering. He believed in integration, in bringing the unconscious into the light, in meeting the shadow, not with fear but with compassion, and he offered a path, not to stop caring. Not to become cold, but to stop confusing other people's reactions with your truth. Here's how. Step 1. Separate the trigger from the truth. When something hits you, pause. Ask yourself, is this about me or is this about them? Most of the time it's about them, their mood, their pain, their unresolved story. You just happen to be in the room, Jung said. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Stop dreaming that you are the cause of every reaction. Wake up to the fact that people are living inside their own minds, their own fears, their own patterns, and most of what they say has nothing to do with you. Step 2. Befriend the shadow. When a comment lands hard, ask, what part of me does this touch? Not to confirm the criticism, but to understand the wound. If someone calls you weak and it destroys you, there's a part of you that fears weakness. A part you've rejected. And the path forward is not to prove you're strong, it's to accept that you contain both, strength and weakness, light and shadow. Jung said, I'd rather be whole than good. Stop trying to be perfect. Start trying to be real. Step 3. Reclaim your center. This is the hardest part. You have to stop seeking validation from the outside. You have to stop making other people's opinions the measure of your worth. You have to return to yourself, again and again, like coming home. Jung practiced what he called active imagination, a daily ritual of sitting with himself, listening to his inner voice, dialoguing with the parts of him that were afraid, angry, lost. You don't need a complex practice. You just need to ask, what do I know to be true about myself, independent of what anyone says? And you build from there, one truth at a time, one moment of self-trust at a time, until the outside noise becomes just that, noise. Step 4. Practice compassionate detachment. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care without collapsing. You listen without absorbing. You hold space without becoming the container for everyone's pain. Jung worked with patients for decades. He heard the darkest confessions, the deepest fears, and he never took them personally, not because he was cold, but because he knew. Their story was theirs, and his story was his, and the two could meet without merging. You can do the same. You can love people without becoming them. You can be present without being consumed. So here is the truth Jung spent his life uncovering. When you stop taking things personally, you do not lose connection. You find it. Real connection. The kind that doesn't require you to betray yourself. The kind that doesn't demand you shrink or perform or apologize for existing. You become someone who can stand in the storm and not be moved. Not because you're numb, but because you know who you are. And no one can take that from you. You are not broken. You are not too sensitive. You are not wrong for feeling deeply. You are simply carrying wounds that were never yours to carry. And it's time to set them down. Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Not who they say you are. Not who you fear you are, but who you truly are. Beneath the fear, beneath the defense, beneath the need to be seen in a certain way, there is a self that is whole. That was always whole, and it's waiting for you to come home. So the next time someone says something that cuts, pause, feel it. Don't run, but ask yourself, is this mine to carry? And if the answer is no, let it go. Let it pass through you like wind through an open window. You are not a target. You are not a mirror. You are not the accumulation of everyone's projections. You are something far more sacred than that. You are the one who can witness it all and remain whole. Jung once wrote, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You have a choice to keep taking things personally and call it sensitivity, or to wake up and call it freedom. The path is not easy, but it is yours. And on the other side of this wound is a life you cannot yet imagine, a life where you are no longer a hostage to the opinions of others, where you move through the world with quiet power, where you love without fear, where you exist fully without needing permission. That life is not far away. It's one choice away, one moment of seeing clearly, one breath of letting go. So take it and begin. What would your life look like if nothing anyone said could shake you? Not because you stopped caring, but because you finally knew who you were. Leave a thought below. Sometimes the comment section becomes the most honest part of the journey.